recorded live from Studio 12A in sunny Phoenix, Arizona. You're listening to the Josh and Friends Podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to the Josh and Friends Podcast. I am your host. My name is Josh. And this week, the show welcomes Jen Young back to the program. And we're going to discuss a range of different topics, including our recent Halloween costumes for this year, what it was like growing up in San Diego, and find out how she was responsible for getting a fraternity shut down back in the day. Yeah. So let's just get right into this and help me give a warm welcome to my partner in crime, aka Peg Bundy. She is the one and only Miss Jen Young. Woo! Yeah, Jen! How you doing?
I'm good.
Yes. So this is like your first solo time on the show here.
Who would have ever thought?
Yeah. Oh, just been waiting. Just been waiting. How are you liking the little creeper stash guy
I love
going
it.
here?
I love that and the hair.
Yeah, it's like I'm sporting a little spikeage action going on over here.
I love it.
Yeah. So we need to talk about the Halloween.
Oh, Halloween. That was
talk about Halloween.
So fun.
Yeah.
We didn't win, but
We weren't. Listen, not going for these contests anymore. You know, it's just especially now because like you go out now and like now it's like partying with like 20-something-year-olds who weren't even born when our costume was out, right? Mm-hmm. So like we went as Married with Children, and well, just Peg and Al,
minus the children and dog.
Yeah, and then we were kind of like working on that costume for a while,
like 7 months maybe.
People were like, "What? What are you talking about?" Well, it was like little details here and there, you know.
Well, it was just funny because we go to the bar and there's no one dressed up.
Right. There was like, I'd say it was like last year was like what, 90% of the people were dressed up.
Yeah.
What do you think this year was?
Like 50-50.
Yeah. It was weird.
Yeah.
Right.
It was really weird.
And it was a weird vibe too.
It was a younger vibe than I think last year.
Yeah. Which definitely hurt for our costume.
Yes.
Like mid 80s to mid 90s, like not the greatest costume for like, actually you went up to the DJ because I said, hey, I need to put in a couple songs, and you went up to the DJ and then she's like, oh yeah, everybody, if you want to participate in the contest, let me know what it is. And then you're like, you went up to her and then what'd she say?
She's all, so what are you guys? And I was like, we're Al and Peg Bundy from Married with Children. She's like, I don't know what that is.
She had to Google it.
She
you
Googled
said,
it, yeah,
right? And then she probably still didn't know
the
it.
Picture and then she's like, oh, but
that was like a nice, that was.
She's like a 20-year-old. She didn't know.
That's awesome. Oh gosh, yeah.
It was fun though.
It was fun. No, that place is always fun, but you know whose party looked fun? Lisa's party. Did you see those pictures?
Did look fun. I
That's
know.
crazy.
Was she on stilts?
Yes.
Right.
And there's like giant like clown displays and just clowns running all over the place. Like, I mean, if you like clowns, and if you don't like clowns, are you a big fan of clowns?
I'm not a big fan of clowns.
Maybe
you
wouldn't have had a great party.
It looked fun.
Oh gosh, yeah. So
maybe next year we just need to go to Seattle for Halloween.
Ooh, that's not bad. It's not a bad idea. Seattle's a big Halloween place. Yeah. They could party with. Lee should be up there by then, right?
Yeah.
Not that Lee's a big Halloween guy.
But he participates.
Yeah. I mean, well, when I make him.
Yeah.
The only one that he was actually into was Mr. T.
Yeah. Well, that one was amazing.
Yeah.
That one, a lot of work went into that one. So I hope he was into that.
Yeah, we bought a van.
Yeah. Like a $500 van that you guys renovated.
Yeah. Awesome. That was awesome, man. That was awesome. But all right. So now it's time to start thinking about next year's costume. Any ideas?
I have no idea. I was thinking, do we do another couple costume or do we do a single costume? Because I have ideas for single stuff for me, but
yeah. I mean,
like,
it all depends on what you come up with because it doesn't really matter if you do it solo or with somebody. It's always more fun when you could do it like as a group, but it's always harder if you do it as a group. I mean,
I did feel kind of bad with Eric over Halloween because he wasn't part of our costume.
Yeah, but he went up. He was up for whatever, right?
I know. His costume was so great.
He put on the cowboy hat and he's like, "Wow, I look really Mexican now."
Yeah.
It was great.
He had his fanny pack on, like. He was my purse.
Yeah. Good old Eric. All right. Okay. So now that we got that out of the way, which is fun, by the way, it was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. Taking the pictures was challenging, but
we did it early.
Yep, that was key. That was key. So,
and then the one outside worked perfect.
Yeah,
we were in the grass.
Exactly. All right. So now we're here to talk a little bit about you and your backstory. Now, you were actually born in Tacoma, Washington.
Yep.
How does that happen? Because you grew up in San Diego.
Yes. So my dad was in the Army. And my mom and dad, they had my brother in 76, and then they had me as a surprise. And then
surprise.
Yeah, I was a surprise. It was either an accident or a surprise. I like to say surprise.
Okay.
So my mom was thinking she needed to be near family. So they were like, let's move back to San Diego because my whole family lives there. So they just packed up and moved back when I was like 6 months old or something. And yeah, been there ever since. And then I moved to Arizona.
Nice. Now, so your parents... Now, are they originally from the San Diego area, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So like my grandparents were from Oregon, so they were like all over in that area, but for the most part, San Diego. Yeah.
Okay. So they just returned back to their roots. They were stationed up in.
Yeah, they were thinking that they needed to be back with family, and I think when they moved here, they kind of regretted that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Why is that?
Just because the way my mom was talking about it, she was just like, we thought we needed to be near family. They were a young couple. They had us when they were 20 and 21.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
it was,
okay.
Yeah, they were young.
Yeah.
They were young. So. But it was fun to visit that when we went back to Seattle.
Yeah. Hey, wow. This is where I lived when I was a baby. You're like, okay, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
You got the pictures? Okay, let's go. Let's get out of here.
That place was a shit show.
Yeah, there's lots of parts of Tacoma that are kind of, there's like lots of really nice places in Tacoma. That is not one of them.
No, it was not. Maybe back in the 70s, maybe, but not right now.
Now, another interesting thing that you told me before is that the kind of school that you attended.
Yeah. So I went to a performing arts school. So I went to a performing arts school in San Diego. I went from 6th grade till 12th grade. So it was kind of amazing. It took my mom 3 years to get me into the school because there was a wait list. So she had to wait for me to get in there. And then it actually was a 4th grade through 12th grade. Mm-hmm. It was all arts. So it was dancing, singing, drama, instruments. We had no sports, which was kind of crazy.
Wow.
But it was all performing arts. So I danced a lot when I was younger. And so my mom noticed that worked for me because I was a very energetic kid. Never stayed in my seat, always up and about. So crazy.
Like you are now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and she worked at the school that I used to go to when I was in elementary, and she used to always have to be called into the office to have me sit down because I wasn't listening. So they thought putting me in a performing arts school where I could show all that energy. So yeah, I went there from 6th to 12th. It was amazing.
So my question is, now when you're watching all these shows and movies growing up, you're like, this is weird. This is nothing like the school that I'm in, like lockers and sports and all this, like, like Saved by the Bell. What's going on here? Like, what is all this?
So it's funny because I didn't really think about it like that because we had lockers in the locker room when we had to get dressed for dance, but we didn't. So when the school I went to, it was called O'Farrell, and then they built a brand new school called San Diego School of Creative and Performing Arts. So I went from 6th to 7th grade at the old school. And then when they built the new school, then it was like 8th, 9th, 10th.
Did your brother go there too?
No, my brother went to a school in San Diego that my parents went to and that your dad went to.
Wow. Okay. That's another kind of a fun little trivia back there.
That one surprised me.
Yeah. So your parents, this is way crazy.
Yeah.
They got married on the exact same day and year.
Yeah, as your
the exact day as my parents.
I know. So
that
it's like
really
when your
crazy.
parents were getting married, my parents were getting married.
That is so weird. I mean, when you think about it, it's not that crazy because it's like, okay, so it was the same year, but like, people usually get married in the summer, right? And then, it was probably on a Saturday, right? Yeah. So that narrows it down pretty significantly right there. But
I was just wild. Like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, like they literally have the same anniversary.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Now, so when I was growing up, I was swimming in the river a lot.
Okay.
Now, were you swimming at the beach, like in the ocean?
So we were always in the beach, swimming in the water. I took swim lessons to make sure that I was able to swim. So yeah, I spent a lot of time at the beach. The beach was definitely my haven. So even in high school, like I think I spent an entire summer in a summer condo, like beach condo with a friend.
Nice.
And we were at the beach every single day.
Oh, sounds amazing.
So, yeah, it was great growing up.
See, now we always kind of like talk about this too. Like when I'm driving around, I still look at palm trees and I'm like, oh, look at that palm tree. You're like, that's a palm tree. Who gives a shit? Like whatever, who cares? But like when you went up to Seattle and you see all the evergreen trees and just the lush green everywhere, were you kind of like looking around too?
Those were amazing, especially when we were on our way to Snoqualmie Falls. Yeah. That drive, like with all those trees, like it was a wall. Yeah. It was awesome. Yeah, it's awesome. I was just like, oh man. And I love trees just as much as you do. Yeah. But I did grow up with palm trees all the way, everywhere. Right. So for me, I'm like, it's just. Yeah. Cause like, if you're not, especially if you're from like, the northern part of the states, Seattle or Wisconsin or Minnesota, even New York, like any of those places where it's kind of like, the weather, it's nice in the summer, but that's really kind of it, Yeah. But now for people like us, we see like, I would always look at, California movies like, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, or, even the Karate Kid, we're having like, well, they're like having a party down at the beach. Yeah, bonfire.
Did you guys have those?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Oh, it sounds amazing.
All the time.
That sounds amazing.
Get on our jet skis during the day, and then we'd have a bonfire at night. It was
that doesn't exist in Seattle. I mean, unless you're at like a river or a lake legally, or I don't know.
The only time I was at a river was when I was younger. My brother and I, when we were younger, my grandma, she lived in Arizona, and she lived in Yuma. So every summer for 2 weeks, she would come pick us up from San Diego and then drive us all the way back to Yuma. And then we would spend 2 weeks in Yuma. We'd spend 2 weeks at the river, in the pool, like just hanging out with our grandma and grandpa. And then she'd drive us back to San Diego, and I would come back like super tan, and everyone's like, what the? Everybody was surprised. Oh,
that's awesome.
It was awesome.
Now, another thing that I couldn't believe, this is so crazy. Up until recently, very recently, we're talking like what, within the last year or year and a half or something like that, you had never experienced snow. Mm-mm. You've never seen snow like in person. You've never touched snow.
Nope.
How is it even possible?
I know, it's crazy.
I mean, even people in like LA or something like that, they go on like a ski trip or something like that. Cause there are like snow mountains in California, right? You just were that sheltered?
My parents, we didn't have a lot of money.
Right.
So growing up in the, 70s, 80s and 90s, we just did what we needed to. And, I lived really close to Julian or the mountains. When we would go there, it wasn't actually snow. It was like wet, sloppy. Yeah. It wasn't really snow. So I had never experienced snow until I think it was it was January of 2021 is when I first experienced.
Crazy. You're like, you mark it on the calendar.
Snow. Yeah. It was like a lot of snow. It was crazy because I was just.
But you still never seen snow coming down.
No.
Right.
I've never experienced it falling down yet.
Oh. Yeah. You're gonna be like a dog. Like it's so fun to watch like animals in the snow. They're trying to bite it and stuff, like, chomp at the snow and stuff.
I do want to be there when that happens, but we'll see.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was great. Like even Zoe, because I had brought Zoe with me, and Zoe, she was making snow angels, and we were throwing snowballs at each other. It was a lot of fun.
And that's like some of the like older snow that you guys were up in, like, right? You guys were
because we were in Flagstaff.
Yeah. It's kind of like Rich Falls. I bring up Rich Falls a lot on this show, but Rich Falls, like he's like, I've never seen an ocean. So it's kind of like the opposite. You guys are like the opposite. Yeah. Like you've never seen snow, and he has never seen an ocean in person or touched an ocean. Or
does that just not baffle you? Like,
no, really? Not really. Not. Well, I mean, as a human being, yes, but for Rich, no.
Love you, Rich.
Yeah. Now, but you just going back to your parents.
Yeah.
Now, your parents have some interesting stories that I've heard before. Now, your dad used to compete in bodybuilding contests.
My dad was a bodybuilder.
That's so amazing.
Funny. I was just talking about it today to my friends because they were telling me about a documentary on Netflix called Killing Sally or something like that. So it was about a bodybuilder who killed her husband. So I was like, my dad was a bodybuilder, and they were like, what? And then I showed them the picture. They're like, oh my God.
That's awesome.
My dad used to work out a lot. He took steroids because it was in the 80s.
Aren't you, don't you kind of have, I mean, like,
yeah.
Listen, I lifted weights for many, many years, like 30 years or something like that, you know, which is weird to say, by the way. Like, I don't know, 25 years, I don't know, 30 years, whatever. But anyway, I've lifted weights for a long time, and some of the time, like I lifted weights, I would try to go hard, but you can't gain the muscle that these guys gain without some sort of enhancement. Cause like I would be in shape.
Yeah.
And I would get like, you know, I get some nice arms and stuff like that, you know, but man,
the steroids,
those guys,
just,
like, I mean, they're just ridiculously huge. Like, come on.
So he did that. He would compete. He would do all the oil and like, he would be all tanned up. He had like really short hair. He had like a big old like stash. And
yes, like the one I'm kind of working on right here.
Yeah, but his was like, it was like full on like porn stash.
Like Hulk Hogan?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then he would literally, I'm not kidding you, walk around in his Speedo.
And you said that
around the house, and my friends would be there, and he would just be walking right by.
No, would your friends be like, hey, Dad's kind of hot?
No.
It wasn't like Stacy's mom or like the hot dad.
It was almost like, Dad, can you please put some on?
Now, how old are we talking here? Like, what is this?
Oh God, like in the 80s, like 85. So I was probably like 10 or 11. Yeah.
That is awesome.
9 or 10. Yeah. It's just embarrassing.
And you said he's actually a Raiders fan too, right?
He is a Raiders fan. So both my parents are Raider fans.
Okay.
I don't know why, because
I know. They're from, wait a minute.
They're from
the
Southern
Chargers
California.
were around, right?
Exactly. So they were never Charger fans. They've always been Raider fans.
Shout out
to Ethan, because I know he's a Raider fan.
Well, it kind of makes sense though, because the Raiders were hugely, you know, they were a big team in the 70s. Yeah. Even into the 80s. But like the Chargers, not so much. No. I mean, they had Dan Fouts and Charlie Joiner and stuff like that, but yeah.
So my parents actually, they actually belonged to a Raider fan club in San Diego, where my dad was the president and my mom was the vice president. It was ridiculous. Dang. They had like ID cards and everything. It was so embarrassing.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I guess that's what your parents do. They just embarrass you.
Yeah.
They always ask me till this day if I want to go back to the dark side, and I'm like, no.
Do you embarrass your daughter?
All the time. She hates it.
Now, you said your parents got into, was it both of your parents, or was it just your dad that got in a motorcycle accident?
Both my parents, twice.
Both of them?
Two
twice?
Times, yeah. So the first time I was 7, I don't remember where I was. I just remember I was with my grandparents, and then we went to the hospital, and they had told me that my parents got into a motorcycle accident. And then I remember going up in the elevator with my grandparents, and we get to the room, and I see both my parents, and I had like a little Hershey's chocolate kiss because I think they were just trying to like make us feel better. I saw my parents, and I went straight to the bathroom, and I puked it up because I was just so distraught seeing my parents in that state. And then my grandparents thought it was a good idea to get my ears pierced that time too when I was 7, maybe take my mind off my parents being hurt. I have no idea.
Yeah.
So, and then the second time I was a little bit older. I think maybe I was like 13 or 14, and I had a bad feeling when they went on the motorcycle. And then as soon as I came home, I asked my dad, because he was sitting on the couch. I'm like, where's Mom? She was in the hospital, and he had broken ribs, and it was crazy. She had like a dislocated and broken shoulder that she's had multiple surgeries on. I mean, it was crazy.
So are you a fan of motorcycles?
No.
I'm not. Did they keep riding after that?
No.
So that was the final straw.
That was the final straw. And I don't know if my dad still has his motorcycle. I think he gave it to a friend. But he had it maybe up until maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, but he never rode it. It just kind of sat in the garage. My grandpa rode like the old school, like grandpa motorcycle.
Yeah.
Right? Like
those are awesome.
Goldwing or something like that, or whatever those were.
Yeah.
And I remember one time we were at a storage unit, and my grandpa's like, don't get near the motorcycle because it will hurt you. And I was like, all right, I'm whatever. And I got really close, and I didn't mean to, and it literally singed my leg.
Oh, because it was hot?
The pipe was hot. Worst pain of my life.
Oh God.
So yeah, that wasn't fun. So no, I'm not a fan of motorcycles.
Yeah. So sticking with the same topic, your dad actually, used to grow weed?
Yeah.
Like kind of weed growing operation?
Yeah. So, growing up, my dad in the backyard in San Diego, he would grow his own weed.
Now, is this the same kind of era, same time frame as when he was bodybuilding, or is this after, or what?
It was around the same time. It was kind of all like together,
Gotcha.
And of course, back then it wasn't legal. So it was very like hush hush.
Yeah.
But my dad didn't care. He literally just had it in the open. So like if helicopters, I lived in I lived in a ghetto neighborhood, I guess. So we always had the ghetto bird flying over.
Yeah.
So, the helicopter. So, growing up, there was always pot around, smoking it. Just
now, you said that he got in some trouble. He
did. So I don't know.
This is wild, by the way, because like you said, this is like back in the time where this is like the kind of like the Reagan era. Nancy Reagan, don't do drugs, and the war on drugs and all that stuff. So they were really serious about cracking down on people that were growing drugs and taking drugs and buying drugs and all that good stuff.
Drugs are menacing our society. They're threatening our values and undercutting our institutions. They're killing our children. We have increased seizures of illegal drugs. Shortages of marijuana are now being reported. Last year alone, over 10,000 drug criminals were convicted, and nearly $250 million of their assets were seized by the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration.
So you said that there was actually kind of like a raid.
Yeah.
Like in your
my dad was at work, and I think my mom was either at home or she got called to come home.
Yeah.
I was home, and I think my brother was home, and
you guys were home.
The cops came, or whoever came, and they raided the house, and they took all the weed plants, and they took everything, and then they took my dad's old school like wooden nunchucks. He was so mad because he's like
that's the least of his worries.
I know, but that's what he was like most mad about.
Did he go to prison or
no?
Whoa!
He never got in trouble.
He didn't even get in trouble?
Because he wasn't home. They just raided it and took everything. And I was so mad. I was like yelling at them, telling them, you woke me up. My mom was like, shh. And I was like, no, they woke me up. And they didn't even go in my room.
You're like, she like puts a pillow over your head and like shoves you in
because they took us out of our room because they had to go in each room to like look to see where stuff was. But it was all outside.
They took nunchucks.
Yeah. Oh my God, he was so mad because they were like good wooden ones.
It's like, I got these from Bruce Lee in 1971.
He was so mad. I just remember that being like him being really mad about that than the weed because he could just regrow it.
and then he did?
Yeah.
He did what?
He created like a...
I mean, I guess why not if like they just didn't even give him a slap on the hand. They just took his weed.
Instead of him doing it in the open, he created a greenhouse. So like he made a greenhouse and stuck him in there.
God. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
So growing up with that, I was used to seeing it. I was used to smelling it. And then when I got older, I used to smoke it and take it.
Okay. All right. So now it just moves right into our next story here. So growing up in San Diego, you went to that private school thing. Yep. Now after school, you said that you possibly were kind of like a little bit rebellious.
I was a lot rebellious. Yes, I was. I was very rebellious. Yeah, I tried to listen to my parents, but I wanted to be the cool person. So high school, it was. I mean, even though I had like really great group of friends, you get into that crowd that just doesn't make a good impression on your parents. But we also lived by San Diego State University, and that was bad news too.
I don't like where this is going. Did you ever go to Effen's bar?
Oh yeah.
Whoa.
So
that's awesome.
So growing up, when I was like 16, I didn't look like I was 16. I looked like I was older. So like when I would go hang out down in San Diego State area, all the college guys, they were always like, "Oh, let me buy you a drink." I'm like, "Okay." So
you going to the bars?
Oh yeah,
like at 16?
So I never got. It was. I know it was crazy.
Oh man, you and I grew up so differently. Like,
well, then too, like I used to rollerblade. Really, that's like a 90s thing.
Oh, that's so 90s.
I know. I used to rollerblade past the fraternity houses all the time.
Oh yeah.
And just because I was a teenager, and I'm like, check me out. And just so ridiculous, but.
So. What happened with the fraternities? I need to hear this story because this is probably one of the craziest stories any of my friends have.
So one time I think I had gotten in trouble and I was like super mad at my parents, and I had a friend over, and we decided to open my window and jump out and sneak out. And we went to the...
Are you on the second floor or something?
No, we were in a house.
Okay.
I just opened my window. It was like kind of high up.
Yeah.
So it's like I had to jump out of the window. And then we jumped over to the gate, and then we headed to
we?
My friend and I.
Okay.
So we proceeded to hang out and go to the fraternity house that I met a guy at, and we hung out there and we were drinking, and then...
Oh God. How old were you? Here?
I was probably 16.
Oh my goodness.
So we were hanging out, and then next thing I know, like, my brother and his big friend, like, he must have known where I was or known from before. So they found us, and we were hiding in a closet because we were like,
oh my God,
so bad, because we didn't want to come back. And I think at that, like, my friend that was with me, her mom worked for the police department. So we were like really trying to like be incognito in the closet. So somehow we ended up coming back to the house, and I was in so much trouble because we had snuck out, and and then so what happened with that? So after I got in trouble, of course I got grounded, which doesn't even happen these days, like, right? Because if I say you're grounded to Zoe, she's gonna be like, "What?" You're like,
yeah, she'd be like, "Okay,
okay."
So I get to play on TikTok, or
exactly.
Okay, I don't want to go anywhere anyway.
I was grounded for probably like a month. I don't even know, but I remember my dad was so mad. He literally took my window and he nailed it shut where I could only open it like this much.
It's like the people under the stairs.
Yeah. He's like, you can't get out of this window anymore, and it's going to be open in this much. So I couldn't even like, it's so bad. And then I later found out that because my friend and I had gone to that fraternity, that we actually shut down that fraternity because of all that.
How do you feel about that?
I mean, I'm not proud, but...
That's pretty crazy.
It's a story.
You got a fraternity shut
down. Yep.
Oh, way to go.
I know. Terrible. Wow. It's just terrible.
Do you have any remorse?
No.
Don't hang out with 16-year-olds, college boys. Jeez.
Bad news.
Yikes. Oh, gosh. All right. Well, another fun thing that I know about you is you actually got to try out for some TV shows.
I did.
So, okay. First off, the first one was Saved by the Bell?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So Saved by the Bell. Now, was this before the show started, or is this like during when it was in its run? In its run. So I was, because coming from a performing arts school, we got a lot of, information on what was out there and what was that. So I went with a friend, and we went and we auditioned, and obviously I didn't get on, but still it was a cool experience. Now, what did you audition for? Do you remember what it was?
It was just a part. So I don't know if it was for a certain character or an extra character, but gotcha. I mean, it was an experience that was kind of cool because I loved Saved by the Bell. Like, I mean, everybody from the 90s loved that show.
So you lost to Carrie from that show, King of Queens. I'm just joking.
Yeah, right.
I'm just trying to figure out what it was.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a fun experience, but then I realized too, like later on, I had a friend that tried out, and it was, remember that the Saved by the Bell, the new class?
Yeah.
So I had a friend that tried out for that, and she actually got onto that show.
Really?
So I was like, whoa, that's kind of awesome.
Wow.
So,
that is kind of cool.
There's actually a lot of famous people from my high school that are actors. So yeah.
That's kind of cool. Now, did you get to work with any of the people on the show, or is it just the casting agents?
It was
or whatever
just the casting stuff. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then I think I found out, I think that was my 16th. It was my 16th birthday is when I auditioned. And then when I got home, I found out that my dad had a heart attack. Oh. So I was like,
jeez.
All right, well.
Just chalk it up to another dad story over here.
I know.
Good Lord.
Thanks, Dad. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was kind of rough because
how bad was it? Was it like a pretty bad heart attack?
No, it wasn't that bad, but it was like, he was in his 30s, and to have a heart attack, it just was a lot. I mean, a little steroid.
A little steroid action going on. Yeah, it's not good on the heart.
So it was just kind of because I had such a great day, and then I came home and I was like, oh my God, my dad's in the hospital because he had a heart attack. So
good times. Yikes. Yeah. Every time you come home, maybe you shouldn't be leaving, because every time you leave, they come back in a motorcycle accident, like a heart attack.
I'm going to put him in a bubble.
All right. Now, so the other show that you got to audition for, which is kind of weird, you got to audition for, what was it?
Deal or No Deal.
Deal or No. And what was this? One of the card girls or something? What was it?
No, it was
or
like
was
to
that
be
actually
a contestant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I got you. Okay.
So a group of my friends, like 2 girlfriends of mine, it was in Vegas, and I was like, let's go on a road trip. Like, let's go to Vegas. Let's drive. Let's go try out for Deal or No Deal. And
was it there? It was in Vegas?
In Vegas, yeah.
Oh, weird.
So,
I didn't know that.
we drove to Vegas and we waited in line, and it was hot as hell outside, and we were drinking. And so
God.
I remember we had to write down like what our sign was, because I'm a Gemini. So it was like I had to write that down, and like they had questions that you had to answer. And then when you got to the booth of them asking you, you had to just answer the questions that they gave you. But I didn't get on that one either. But that's okay. It's all an experience.
Right. Okay. Deal or No Deal. Isn't that the one with Howie Long?
Yeah.
Or Howie Mandel, right?
Mandel, yeah.
Yeah, Howie Long.
Howie Long.
That'd be pretty cool.
That
Howie
would be
Long.
cool.
Yeah. Your dad would like that.
Yes, he would.
Both
He
of your
was a
parents,
writer,
right?
Yeah.
Deal or No Deal.
Deal or No Deal is back. The week-long television event begins February 27th only on NBC.
So now, when did you end up getting married?
So I got married in 2006.
Okay, so 2006. Okay, and how many years were you married?
I was married for 13, but we were together for 23.
Ooh,
Yeah.
holy moly!
I know.
Wow, that's a long
Yeah.
time. Now, you always say that you weren't like obviously a huge fan of marriage, especially now. But like one good thing that did come out of it.
Is Zoe.
Zoe.
Yeah.
That's what the standard everybody
Exactly.
goes
Yeah.
if anything good came out of this, it was
It
Zoe.
was my kid.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
She's a really great kid. She's
a big soccer star.
She is a big soccer star. She's very smart and athletic, and I couldn't ask for anything better.
Are you hoping she gets a scholarship so you don't have to pay a full ride to somewhere?
Yeah. I think she is too.
Yeah. Now you're talking about like she wants to move, or she wants to go back to Cali.
She tells me all the time. She's like, I'm going back to San Diego. I was
Going
like,
back
all
to
right. I
Cali.
was like, well, because my whole family still lives there.
Oh, that's
so
right.
if she does, she could just stay at someone's house and not have to pay rent or anything, because she could just stay.
Oh,
with
out of state tuition.
Yeah, that's gonna be expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She better get a scholarship. Oh gosh.
It's good though. Yeah, no. So being married, it was, it has its good parts and it has its horrible parts, and it is what it is.
The good parts, splitting all the costs of everything.
Yeah. It's so funny because we met when I was 19, so I was very young, and so I wasn't interested in getting married at that time, and it took him actually 10 years to ask me.
You had your crazy wild years at 16 and 17,
Yeah, I
and then
know.
you like settled down like when you're 19.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. God, how sad is that?
It's hilarious.
So yeah, we took him 10 years to ask me, and then we got married, and then just lived the married life, and then we bought a condo, and then we had a baby, and then Zoe was 5, and then we decided let's move out of state, and that's when we came to Arizona.
There it goes.
Yeah.
There it goes. All right. Now, and then that brings you to, I actually met you during the pandemic.
Yes. Like in the,
which is the
like
craziest, weirdest thing ever.
know.
Like
it was like the start of the pandemic, because it started in like March of 2020. Like,
yeah,
Right.
That's when people started going like, what's going on?
yeah, like everyone's getting sick.
Because I remember Lee and Ryan were visiting, and we were just starting to talk about it. We are like, what's going on here with this?
Well, yeah, because we went to, remember, because then there was the spring training game. Didn't you guys go to the spring training game?
Yeah, and we were kind of like, do we get next to people, or what do we do here? Like, so yeah, it was. So basically, pretty much right after that, I think that you said that it was on one of those apps or whatever, but like, it was like, what did you say that the thing that you noticed on my profile, it was like that something I liked?
Oh, so it was funny because I was not a huge, being married for so long and being with someone for so long, I'd never been on a dating app. The dating apps are terrible, so don't ever do it. But I remember going onto your page and I would swipe through the pictures, and they were fun because he had that big one where you were like eating the taco in the pool or whatever. And then the one with your mom and dad and Andy. And I was like, oh, that one's so cute. And then I didn't do anything with it. And then I went back to the app maybe a couple days later, and I'm like, is that guy cute? Like, I don't know. And so, so then I swiped the one way, and then on your page though, like you were like, something's like a nightclub or whatever. And you were like, how about we watch a documentary about a nightclub? And I was like, yes. And then you had other stuff like where you were just like, Casino's a great movie. And I'm like, there it is,
a
right
great
there.
movie.
Because Casino's like literally one of my favorite movies.
Movie's awesome.
So then I think that's how we started talking, because I was like, I love Casino.
Yep.
And then it just took off from there. So then, and then here
Can't
we
go wrong with Casino.
I know. I love that.
Gotta see that.
I love that
I haven't
movie.
seen that in a while. Yeah.
It's
It's a great movie.
great movie. I always close my eyes though when he does the hammer on the hands.
Oh God. That's awful. The end of that movie is just, that is some graphic stuff.
I know.
That's some great, and he makes him watch his brother get oh, okay.
All right. Get
Ooh.
murdered
Wow.
and buried alive.
I mean, they weren't great guys. They were horrible people, but I mean, geez. So even more than movies, though, I think that the one thing that you and I have in common is music.
Music. Yep.
I mean, that's huge, right? So,
yeah.
Which is, by the way, it's probably one of the things that my dad likes most about you. Because he's like, I have another music buddy. This is amazing. This is awesome. Like, we went back to visit, and he's just like,
I love it.
Hey, Jen, come out here. I have a song you need to hear. Not just a song,
No,
though, right?
it was like a whole playlist. I loved it. I love it.
Oh, it's awesome.
I love music so much, and I love all types of music. It's not just like one genre. Like I love.
Now you
all
have
kinds of music.
you have some genres that you
absolutely love. Yes,
right.
I do.
So what are some of your favorite genres of kind of like the list that I've kind of like created for you?
So I love the soft 80s. I love anything soft.
Right.
So, but soft 80s, 60s, 70s. Like I love the soft stuff.
Which I like to call
Gen rock.
Gen rock. Yep.
It's
kind of like
you know, they call it yacht rock.
Yeah, yacht rock.
Yeah.
Yep. Gotta like yacht rock. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like yacht rock?
Yeah. I love that. I just love music in general. So when I wake up in the morning, it's literally the first thing that I do is I turn on my phone and I play music. So it's throughout the day at work. I have it on all day. And with you making those playlists, I have my super mix. So it gives me like a good like
mix of everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Even the stuff that your dad did when you made that playlist for me that your dad made on the CD.
Yeah.
Like all that music starts to come in too. And I love it
Nice.
because I love lounge music too.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, lounge. I love lounge music.
I love lounge
It's
music.
such a weird genre to like.
I love it.
Yeah. People that know.
Yep.
Because you love the 60s
I
too.
do. I do.
Like
That is my
you're-
favorite era.
You like so Mad Men, that was like, okay, so I think I told you to watch Mad Men, right?
Yeah. So when the pandemic hit, I was not a huge binger on shows. Like
Yeah.
I didn't stay home and watch shows all the time. And then you're like, you need to watch this. You need to watch this. You need to watch this. You need to watch
You have some homework to do.
I had to watch a lot. So it was Sopranos. Yes, I didn't watch Sopranos until the pandemic because I didn't have HBO.
Good time to catch up on shows.
Exactly. Curb Your Enthusiasm, Mad Men, Breaking Bad. And Breaking Bad actually took me 4 times to watch it. Because I remember when my ex would watch it and I'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe you're watching this show. And then I'd fall asleep. But then you were like, you need to watch it. And I'm like, okay.
But Mad Men, you like, I think this is kind of like how I started too. Like, didn't you watch like the first like episode or two and you're like, but then you like kept watching it and you're like, oh my God, this show's like amazing.
Yeah. Like it took a while to get into it, but once I did, I was like, I love this show. And I still watch it. Like I'll put it on. I'll just have it on.
Oh,
So
that's
yeah,
awesome.
I binged a lot during the pandemic.
Yeah, that's
lot.
awesome. Yeah. Now, who do you like better? Queen? Okay, I don't think Queen's going to get beaten. But how about Queen or the Carpenters?
Oh God.
Okay, I won't make you pick
That's
that.
really hard. That actually hurts my brain. So I love Queen for so many reasons. I love all their music. It's just it's different. The Carpenters are so soft and like, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And the Queen is just like, rah, rah.
Queen's like a mix of, you know,
it's
operatic rock.
And you know, with, you know, Karen Carpenter passing away and dying in the 80s, like it's, you know, she didn't really get the chance to really show more.
Yeah.
But she had an amazing voice and I just love all her music. And like Queen, I just absolutely love.
Yeah.
I love
Freddie Mercury, baby. Yeah. What version of Queen do you like best? Do you like the Freddie Mercury Queen or do you like the Adam Lambert Queen?
the Freddie Mercury. Like, I I get why they picked him though, because he's flashy. Remember I told you
flamboyant,
that. He's very flashy. Like he has like the weird clothes and the makeup, and he's like out there.
He's no Marc Martel though, right?
God, he's so good.
That guy's really good.
So good.
That guy's amazing.
Each morning I get up, I die a little. Can barely stand on my feet. Take a look in the mirror and cry. Lord, what you do to me? I've spent all my years believing you, but I just can't get no relief. Lord, somebody, ooh, somebody, can anybody find me somebody to love? Whoa!
Goosebumps.
Okay, well,
Goosebumps, actual goosebumps.
He sounds just like him.
Yeah.
He looks like him.
Yeah, he kind of looks like him too. All right. So one of the last things that I kind of wanted to bring up was you kind of like go into thrift stores on kind of like little thing. I mean, we did some of that when we were looking for a lot of the costume stuff that we were working on. And I don't know if we should even talk about this.
I tell everybody.
Do you?
Yes.
All right.
It's the best story.
Yeah, okay. All right. So this is quite possibly the greatest find ever at a thrift store because
It was a non-purchase.
Yeah. Maybe you can like just explain this because basically I was just, thumbing through CDs and then you came over.
Well, yeah. So on Sundays, Zoe is a student, so she gets 25% off. So I was like, let's use my daughter for this discount. So we took her to the Goodwills in Phoenix and she's just dragging her ass because she's just like, I don't want to be here. And I'm like, come on, let's go. Let's find stuff. And you went in your area of music and then I went in my area and then she went straight to the shoes. So.
Oh, yeah. Because you needed to find shoes for Peg Bundy too, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So she just went over there and then I met her over there and it was kind of over where the music was too, over where you were. And she was like, Mom, she's like, show these to Josh. And they were like big, fuzzy, like furry monster flippers. And I'm like, I'm not showing this to Josh. I was like, those are terrible. So I look up and in the shoes, like just on top of the shoes, it was like a stack of those gift cards. And I picked them up and I'm like, Zoe, I'm like, what is this? And she's like, I don't know. And I thumbed through them and they were Delta Airline gift cards. And I was like, well, it almost looks like because Bash's is across the street.
Right.
So I was thinking, oh, maybe someone just took them off the rack and then just took them because they wanted the cards.
Right.
Because they still were with the cardboard, the tag that you could hook on to whatever. So, and then we came over to you and I'm like, look what I found. And you were like, what?
I was like, okay. Okay, I don't know what to do. Like, do we, I guess, check it.
Yeah.
Check one.
Well, not only that, like we were just like, do I stick them in my purse? I don't want to look like I'm stealing them.
It's weird because there's like a lot of things go through my head because first off, that is the first thing that comes up. I don't want to be accused of stealing anything.
At Goodwill.
First off. But secondly, then it kind of comes through my head where, okay, well, sometimes I've been reading a lot about like these people that want to pay it forward somehow.
Exactly. And they leave stuff like $20 in a shoe or
like they'll do those like, TikTok things where, I mean, we could be on TikTok walking out of a building somewhere, that, right? Which I'm fine with, by the way. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Awesome. Thank you.
More followers.
Yeah. No, but so you checked one of them.
I did. So I had Zoe read off one of the numbers off the back. And I brought my phone and I was like, all right, let me see on my key. Zoe, give me the number. So I put in the number on the Delta website, like just under gift cards. And I went and looked at it and it's all $100. And I was like, oh my God.
$100 has been loaded onto your account. You're like, what?
I was like, what?
And I'm like, all right. So, okay. So the next step is now we got to figure out a plan how to get these out of here.
Yeah. So we had stuff to buy though. I think you had like a CD and like a shirt or something. I don't remember, but we go up to the counter and it was a young girl working.
You're like, I'm nervous. And I go,
I'm so nervous.
Don't be nervous. I go, look, just tell her like, what was the thing?
It was the thing. So
Zoe, she likes to collect cards.
So when she was younger though, we would go to hotels all the time or we would have like, those old gift cards. She would save those. So she would have like a stack of cards. And so I used that as an excuse. And my kid's 13 now, so she probably doesn't collect them.
And by the way, the employee actually said the right thing. She's like, I mean, we can't sell anything that doesn't have a tag on it.
So I put them on the counter and I was like, well, she collects these. I was like, but I don't know, like, can we buy them? She's like, well, there's no sticker, so I can't sell them to you. And
she's like,
just stuck
you're
them
like,
in.
okay, you could just put them in the bag.
So
she goes, okay. She puts them all in the bag.
Stuck them in the bag. And we were like, oh my God. And here's Josh. He's like trying to like stop people from staring. So he's like turning, like, so no one can watch what we're doing. So then we grab the bag and we literally like run back to the truck just in case someone's like,
well, we didn't run back,
no, but like we scurried.
Yeah, but so we checked and how much.
So we checked. So you were editing stuff and Zoe and I were sitting on the couch and I'm like, crazy. So give me the numbers. So it ended up being $1,300 in airline gift cards for Delta.
So now you get to go back and visit Grandpa.
Yeah, I know. I was like, woohoo! I couldn't believe it.
That is
I was
crazy.
like, because it was like $100, and I'm like, okay, Zoe, give me another one. $100. Give me another one. I couldn't believe it. You were just like, what?
Oh, I mean, it's crazy.
I know.
It's wild. So, yeah, people ask, why do you go to thrift stores? Well,
That's why.
there you go.
That's why. It was a great non-purchase.
Oh my God.
I know.
So awesome. So awesome. Well, I had some other stuff that I wanted to bring up. We'll save it.
Oh,
We'll save it for another time.
okay. I feel like I'm an open book.
Thanks for coming on. And I'm guessing you'll be on. I'm guessing you'll be back. And I'm sure I'll be seeing you around.
All the time.
Yeah. So,
Can't get rid of me.
all right. For Jen Young, I'm Josh. And as always, thank you for being a friend.